Lords, I rise to speak to several amendments in this group, 125, 126 and 181, all of which are addressing the issues of overheating. I'm going to constrain myself to commenting on the amendments in my name, but this is what the direction of the overall travel of the overall group. And I begin by saying that I don't have any particular attachment to the different means by which this issue is being addressed here. What I think is very clear from the level of engagement is that there is a really serious issue in this group, with this issue of overheating as reflected by this group. And I'll start with a statistic that's really quite shocking. Since 2016, about 570,000 new homes have been built without adequate adaptations to respond to increased temperatures. Now, we have heard members of your Lordship's House who are members of the Committee on Climate Change. We've heard from them regularly. Many of us, I'm sure, in this debate will have heard from the reports about the inadequacy of climate adaptation, and we were speaking in an earlier group about the inadequacy of dealing with flooding. This is overheating, which brings huge financial costs. I'll take noble lords back to, we've had heat waves this year, but if we go back to 2022, when we saw temperatures over 40 degrees centigrade for the first time, that resulted in more than 3,000 heat-related deaths. The highest level of mortality since the first heatwave plan was written in 2023. We know with the climate emergency this is something that is going to happen more and more often at greater and greater levels, and it is particularly the young and the old who are most vulnerable to this, but we're increasingly in a situation when everybody is vulnerable. And going back to a point that I was raising earlier, in an earlier group about ventilation, etc., we're also going to see, sadly, increasing number of fires, both fires in natural environments and probably, as we saw in London in 2022, fires in urban environments as well. And this is where we've got to think also about wildfire smoke and its impact on human health. And I really want to go to the issue we keep raising again and again in amendments, is that this is very much a social justice issue and an inequality issue. It is broadly more in economically disadvantaged households who are at greatest risk from these overheating issues. But it's not just those households. Almost 5.5 million children, over half of those in England, are living at homes at risk of overheating, according to the English Housing Survey 2022 analysis by the Resolution Foundation. More than 1 million of those children are living in London, mostly in social housing. So what we've got here are amendments. If we go to look at allowing local authorities where the local climatic data indicates elevated risk, which essentially means everywhere now in the UK, it allows them to actually take specific action under the Town and Country Planning Act. And also, I think this is really important, and I think it's crucial that we discuss this, my Amendment 181 about cooling hierarchy guidance. We saw during the recent heat waves that we've experienced in the UK a great deal of discussion about air conditioning. Why do we not have air conditioning? Why don't we install air conditioning? Well, of course, the problem with air conditioning is it is innately counterproductive. You are cooling the home and heating the outside, whether that's through the electricity used or even very directly in terms of when we think about urban heat islands, etc. Air conditioning is not the answer. As well as all of the inequality issues that rise from that. So 181 talks about a hierarchy, the Secretary of State providing guidance to local planning authorities to outline a cooling hierarchy and provide guidance on how it's applied. And this is where, again, it's kind of the problem with green politics of everything being related to everything else. I have to cross-reference back to our discussion about nature. One of the best ways to provide cooling in environments is actually to have trees and greenery, much better than concrete, reflecting back the heat, heating up the area around it. And so a structured approach, looking at greenery, looking at passive and sustainable design elements. We think about, for example, the people of Yemen, who have a traditional architecture which is in the hottest temperatures that humans can just about stand, and is actually cool and comfortable, based on centuries of knowledge of how to build in ways that encourages breezes, brings the air coming over. We come back to the noble lady Baroness Willis of Somerton, not currently in her place, the value of water as a key cooling element, a breeze coming across water, circulating through a house and cooling it down, and shades in the right directions in the right places. Obviously the thermal mass of a house so it doesn't heat up too quickly, but ensuring that it can also cool itself down. All of these things that really need to be addressed. This bill is a crucial point where we're making sure that people, again, we were talking about health before, people have houses that they can healthily live in, and all of the amendments in this group bring this together. So I really hope we're going to hear positive directions from the Labour Lord the Minister. As I said, I'm not attached to a particular way of doing this, but I really think we need to hear a lot more, and it's not just me saying that, the Committee on Climate Change is saying it too, from the government on how it plans to deal with the overheating issue, particularly of residential buildings. Although I will just remind noble lords that, of course, it's not just residential buildings. Just across the road in Portcullis House, in recent times, they've found that it's actually too hot for people to work in some of the offices over there, a rather recently rebuilt building.